Hello everybody and welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Today we're taking a peek at my other free-to-play account. And one of my favorite decks of all time, Phantasm Spiral. This whole deck revolves around the one field spell, Pacifist, the Phantasm City, which is why I tend to call this deck the Pacifist deck. This card says you cannot normal or special summon effect monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effects. Once per turn, if you normal or special summon exactly one normal monster, add a Phantasm Spiral card from your deck to your hand. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you control no tokens, you can special summon one Phantasm Spiral token. Now notice that second effect is not once per turn, and the first effect is only a soft once per turn. This card came out before once per turns were really huge. So the rest of the Phantasm Spiral cards, so you just want to get into this card whenever possible, and then this card will allow you to summon a token as soon as your opponent activates anything. So to that effect, we're playing Terraforming and lots of draw spells. So Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Prosperity, we have One Day of Peace to stall out if we need to, double Pot of Duality. You cannot summon the token the same turn that you activate Pot of Duality, but it's not a big deal, and I love Royal Rares. So the only main monsters in the whole deck are Phantasm Spiral Dragon and Megalo Smasher X, both of which are just water normal monsters. This one is a worm, this one is a dinosaur. Megalo Smasher is 2,000 attack points, which isn't as bad as you think it is. He's bigger than almost every combo piece that any deck plays. And then Phantasm Spiral Dragon is at 2,900, which when he gets some boosts, which he can through many other ways, he tends to be quite large. The other card for grabbing the Phantasm field spell is Planet Pathfinder. So Planet Pathfinder, since it is an effect monster, you will not be able to activate either effect of the Phantasm City the turn you summon this card, but you can summon this card, tribute him to add a field spell from your deck to your hand. And notice that when it says you can tribute this card, semicolon, that means it's the cost. So even if there's a skill drain on the field, or his effects are negated in a situation where you can still activate, he will still be able to activate, go to the graveyard, and resolve his ability most of the time. So that covers most of the draw spells and things like that. Other than that, it's just generic hand traps, the ones that you have. On this account, I have Call Haunted, I have a Forbidden Droplet, 3 Ash Blossoms, because they're just great, and 3 Impermanents, because it's my favorite hand trap. Other than that, we're running 2 Torrential Tribute, because our deck does not care if our monsters get destroyed, and we'll move on to those last, so we'll save them. We have just a few Floodgates. I really don't enjoy playing Floodgates, but a deck like this really benefits from having them, so I play one of each of the main ones to switch it up. So Rivalry of the Warlords says each player can only control one type of monster, so that would mean Dinosaur with this, or Worm with that. Your token, okay, is a Worm type. So if you summon this, you will only be able to have that on the field alongside of it, but it's not a big deal because you typically only have the token. Skill Drain just negates all face-up monsters on the field, but like I said, Skill Drain doesn't actually work on Planet Pathfinder, which is our only effect monster. And then you have Gozen Match, which is each player can only control one attribute of monster, which does not affect us whatsoever. Now, the whole deck, the power comes from these 3 trap cards right here. So we'll start with probably one of the more powerful ones, Phantasm Spiral Battle. If all monsters you control are normal monsters, and you have to have at least one, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. If Umi is on the field, which our field spell counts as Umi, you can activate this card from your hand. Quick and easy, hand traps, Runic before Runic. You can banish this card from your graveyard to target a normal monster you control and equip it with all Phantasm equip spells you control. That is super irrelevant, okay? Next is the Phantasm Spiral Power. This is the other card you can search off of your field spell. If all monsters you control are normal monsters, again, target an effect monster your opponent controls, it loses 1,000 attack and defense and has its effects negated, which is incredible because our Megalo Smasher X and Phantasm Spiral Dragon are both relatively huge when you reduce your opponent by 1,000 attack and defense. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard, and then target a normal monster you control, and equip the Phantasm Spiral equip spell from your hand or graveyard to that monster, which is actually a more relevant ability. The last of our superpower trap cards here is Sea Stealth Attack. This card is awesome. If you come from older Duel Links, you'll remember this card in Citadel Whale a lot. You can technically play Citadel Whale in here, but I wouldn't. When this card is activate Umi from your hand or your graveyard, and our field spell always counts as Umi, even in the deck, in the hand, in the graveyard, everywhere. While Umi is on the field, this card gains this effects. Once per turn, you can banish a water monster you control until the end phase. This turn, face-up spells and traps you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Now this is amazing because you can banish your token using this effect, and then if your opponent activates an effect, you can then just resummon another token. And you can actually do all of this in response to your opponent activating a spell or trap card. So theoretically, if they activated a Mystical Space Typhoon targeting your Sea Stealth Attack, you could activate its effect, banish the token, the Sea Stealth Attack will be protected, and then the field spell will trigger to summon another token. And then when you summon the token, the field spell will trigger to search a Phantasm Spiral trap card. It also says at the start of the damage step, if your water monster whose original level is 5 or higher battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster. Okay, and a neat thing about this token that we summon is it's level 8. So it will insta-destroy everything that it tries to fight. So will the Phantasm Spiral Dragon itself. So yeah, that's really the whole power of the deck. The deck is super resilient, super cheap. I fell in love with this deck back in the R&N festival, and as you can see, a lot of the cards in this deck are R's and N's. So it is super duper cheap. You can just build it, throw whatever hand traps you have in it, really, whatever good trap cards you have. If you have Solemn, if you have Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment, Lightning Storms, whatever. Just throw whatever in this deck. Phantasm's an awesome deck. Yeah, I mean, let's get into some replays. I'll show you how the deck functions, and you guys can get to clapping some fools. Alright, and so to show you some replays, I wanted to get a long one, but I got you a couple, so check this out. So, our opponent summons a Harpy Channeler. We're going to go ahead and negate with the Infinite Impermanence. And he sat there for a long while and then finally passed his turn. So on to us. We opened relatively broken Sea Stealth Attack plus a Pacifist. That's crazy. So we play the Pacifist, set the Sea Stealth. We have the Effect Negator in the hand. And if he activates anything, we're going to go ahead and summon from the token. So he's going to summon the Cyber Slash Harpy. And then reborn his channeler. And so I went ahead and summoned the token and activated again, and he sat there forever before surrendering. So yeah, that's what people think of Pacifist. Okay, and on to the second replay. I would love for these to be longer, but really what this video is showing you how powerful and how cheap of a deck this is to climb through the rank ladder. So we play the field spell, Pot of Prosperity, to bait out the Ash, and of course he had it, so we're going to go ahead and activate Pacifist to summon our token, and he's going to max C that, which is not a problem. I don't mind. Max C is not a big deal at all. We only special summon once if we need to every turn. So we're going to search for our negation and summon the Megalo Smasher in attack mode and go ahead and pass it over. This is the pop, this is the negator, and as soon as he summoned and could tell that I was reading his cards, he actually summoned, I believe, a Math Mech, the new Math Mech card, and then immediately surrendered. So, yeah, beautiful. Alright, this is probably the longest duel that we'll have for you today. But just wanted to go into a little detail of the deck. So the whole core of the deck is really just pacifists, and then if you need terraforming for something, you can grab that. What this deck is best for really is it's mostly just R's and N's, and whatever hand traps you have. So what I would do is build this deck, and well, what I did in this account is I built this deck and then just kept adding hand traps to it until I had the ones I wanted, and then I built the deck I really wanted with the hand traps I had grabbed using this. And another rage quit. So yeah, all in all, I would say if you're coming from Duel Links or you haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh! In a long time, or you're just coming in to Master Duel, maybe think about picking this deck up and giving it a shot. It can be really easy, or you can make it really complicated and think really hard about it. The better you are, the better you'll do. Oh, this was a great duel. So I'm pretty sure this guy was trying to FTK me, because that's all I ever see these Fire Knight monsters doing. This is Sublimation Knight. He was going to do a thing. I said, no. We imperm from the hand, or we imperm on the field, summon the Phantasm. Now, it's really important. Do not activate your Phantasm spells in the same column as your Infinite Impermanence. Do not. What I like to do is summon my Spiral token right above where my Imperm was, so that I know exactly where not to play my cards. Because I've negated myself so many times, I couldn't even begin to tell you. So here we go ahead and pop his monster before I had a chance to activate. And here he's trying to use the Valiant's field spell to take my field spell out, but we're going to go ahead and pop it. If you pop a field spell before it resolves, as you can see, we're chain 2, he's chain 1, and now it will no longer work. So he's going to go ahead and set up his scales and activate to search for a Squeak Knight, and that's the surrender from him. So yeah, as you can see, this deck is surprisingly rage-inducing. Anyone who ever dueled against this deck before is gonna know what's coming, and if they don't, then they really don't know what's coming. This would be, in my opinion, the spiritual predecessor to Runic. So run this, you can, tech it out however you want to. You could go into an Umi control deck after that. They have the new Jellyfish cards, the Korea Shin, a bunch of good water cards. You could go into Sharks, add that into here. It's really not that big a deal. If you're going to do that, add a Citadel Whale so you can search your Sea Stealth attack. There's a lot of options when it comes to water monsters in this game. And, just play around. The deck is so cheap, you can probably get it after your first couple of pulls, and you dismantle all your extra rares and normals, and you can probably make this deck. So, yeah, have fun crushing pools on the ladder.